Let's talk a little NFL. We'll talk about what's going on with the Browns in particular. Aaron Schatz, you know him and love him from ESPN and FTN Fantasy. And right now he is on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Aaron, my friend, how are you? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. Off season, get to relax a little bit.
Wait. We're talking about the NFL.
You must
There's
not be
no
in
off
Cleveland.
season.
There is no off season here.
I said a little bit. I didn't say that much. A little bit.
Aaron, when you look at the Browns just in general and the hiring of Todd Monkin and where this franchise is, it's easy. Even on ESPN, I'm looking at power rankings. They're like, I think they were down. Well, I don't know. I think they were 31st in the last power rankings I looked at. Just give me your general overview of the Browns as we sit here in the offseason.
Yeah, I think my general overview is this is going to take a couple more years to fix. Don't expect it to suddenly happen in 2026.
Nobody wants to hear that. Go ahead.
I know, but the biggest issue is the quarterback position, and it's a terrible year to need a quarterback. And apparently the 2027 draft has a lot more quarterback talent in it than the 2026 draft does. So it's a good year to, shore up foundations in other areas and then hopefully go out and get the quarterback in 2027, and then you've rebuilt.
Doesn't it feel like it changed? That's the case, although almost every year, Aaron, is where you start to assess a quarterback class before the season is played. We get beyond the college season. Everybody says, "Oh, this is such a dreadful, horrible class."
No one ever thought this was a class. No one ever thought this was a good class.
No,
they thought Arch Manning was going to be.
You're probably right, and that was the thinking here, was that Arch Manning was probably going to come out after 1 year at Texas, and we all knew better than that. But Nussmeier and Simpson and a couple of these guys have gone from being, he's a definite first-round draft pick to suddenly now we're dissecting everything about their games.
And around here, people were looking at Drew Aller 2 years ago going, wow, we got a local guy that's got a chance to be.
Then he's got the injury as well,
yeah,
too. So.
Yeah, again, I mean, we say, everybody says ahead of time, but I think everybody always knew this was not a good class. And the free agency, you can go out and play, let's take a chance on Tua, let's take a chance on Kyler Murray, but do you really want to do any of that? Or do you want to spend this year, obviously, rebuilding the offensive line, kind of important.
A little bit of a priority,
go out and get your quarterback for 2027, hoping that you've done enough in the other areas and kept your defense going enough that then you're going to be competitive.
Sometimes when I look at the Browns and you consider and say, you know what, I'd be okay if they drafted two offensive linemen in the first round. They have 2 picks. Why not do that? And then they'll do something and you'll be like, that was very Browns. And you try to figure out what they're thinking. And, I mean, is that not the safe bet to either go out and take an offensive lineman at 6 and then maybe take a wide receiver or take another offensive lineman? Their offensive line is a mess. I mean, as of this week, Wyatt Teller said goodbye, and Joel Bitonio is just kind of out there. We're going to wait a couple more days and figure out if he's going to retire or utilize free agency or come back.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Joel Bitonio, I'd be like, all right, this is my chance to go play for a contender for a year. And I'd go off to the Chargers or something. Go ring chasing. It's ring chasing time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they're in the position, honestly, where they could just take the best player available at every possibility. I mean, yes, they need offensive linemen specifically, but I would try to piece together offensive line with free agency more, and then just get the best player available. I mean, even at positions where they have players, you could use a second edge rusher.
Yeah, no doubt.
Who's not the greatest defensive player in the game, right? You've got room for another one. I think they can just, if it's an offensive lineman, then that's what they take. If it's a wide receiver, then that's what they take. If it's a linebackers or whatever, all right, well, maybe with Schlesinger, linebacker is not a need. But otherwise, they can pretty much take the best available athlete.
Aaron, need and position notwithstanding, who's the best player in this upcoming draft?
I'm not a draft expert. It's sort of like
nobody is.
Cover the whole, when you cover the whole league, you have to have something that you're not an expert on because you have to learn so much about so many different things. It sounds like it's a good year for edge rushers. And there's good wide receivers, Lemon, and then the kid from Ohio State, whose name
Carnell Tate
now.
Yep.
Yeah, Carnell Tate. Yep. It's not a good year for defensive tackles. It's not a good year for quarterbacks. It's not a good year for running backs. Probably the edge rushers, Bain or Reese, Arvell Reese.
Yep. We know him well. Hey, since Andy touched on it before, Aaron, if I could ask you from a broader picture standpoint, we just went through an offseason. Obviously, we had the coaching change here in Cleveland, but that was common around the league. I think there were, 10 openings or what have you. What, in your mind, what does that say about the league? Was this an anomaly of a year? Is this kind of how have things shifted in terms of owners' expectations, patience, all of that?
So this was a weird year in general because teams that played well lost games and teams that didn't play that well won some games. On one hand, you had your Detroit, Baltimore fell apart a little bit, great teams that have been great year after year. On the other hand, Carolina sneaking into the playoffs, just weirdness. It was just a weird year. And I think that took some teams that felt like things had gotten stagnant and gave them a chance to change them. And so all of a sudden you have a new head coach. It's not just the bad teams like Cleveland that replaced head coaches. You have a new head coach in Baltimore.
Yeah, Pittsburgh and
you
Baltimore,
have a new
right?
head coach in Buffalo. And you have a new head coach, Tomlin retiring randomly. I think it's more that those big successful franchises made those changes is sort of a rare occasion, and it just all happened to happen this year in part because it was just a weird year.
All right, let me throw a free agent question here because it seems like Tyler Linderbaum is going to be the head of the class here, the center from Baltimore, for all the free agents that are out there. I would love for the Browns to get him. I don't know if they can with all the salary implications they have, especially the stuff that's still tied up with Deshaun Watson. But Todd Monkin's here. He was just with him. George Warhop is now back with Cleveland as offensive line coach. One, how much do you think he's going to garner? Let's start there with Linderbaum. And then do you think the Browns could have a shot at him?
I'm trying to remember what the best paid center in the league makes.
I think it's like 18 or 19 million. I looked it up yesterday. I think it's like 19. Add 2 or 3 to that?
So, yeah, the Linderbaum will become the best paid center in the game. And Cleveland is in this tough position. Most of the teams that are at the bottom of the league are high in cap space. And Cleveland is not high in cap space. But if you're going to go out and pay big time for somebody, Linderbaum's a good guy to pay for. He's right in his prime. It's not like centers age quickly. So you're going to get good years. He knows this offensive coordinator, knows this offensive line coach. You need offensive linemen badly. I mean, you really could do a lot worse.
Aaron, I know you've been one of the reporters who's been at the forefront of the new analytics in the game. I was just curious, is there one statistical, however, measuring stick, whatever you want to call it, that stands out to you more than most, that means more than the others in terms of assessing a player and his productivity?
Well, when it comes to when it comes to teams, obviously I'm a big fan of my own stat, right? Because it's my stat, the DVOA. But
right.
When it comes to players, I feel like the best thing to do is have a number of different statistical metrics to use. And they're like the paints in a palette that you use to paint a picture of how good a player is. If you tried to paint a picture with only one color, you can, but then you just get a black and white picture.
Right.
It doesn't give you the detail. So I think the more metrics you have, multiple companies that track things, the better picture you get of just where a player's strengths and weaknesses lie.
Last question for you, Aaron. What does Todd Monkin bring to the Browns? What is he going to make? What is he going to do for this team? Because I think there are still a lot of people sitting around there going, and you fired Kevin Stefanski. Why? Huh?
Yeah, listen, I'm a Stefanski guy. I understand why the feeling like the team needed a restart, even though Stefanski's won Coach of the Year in the past. I think with Monkin, you hope that he's learned from Harbaugh in the CEO aspect of the job, right? The management, overall management, is something that John Harbaugh excels at. You hope Monkin has learned that. obviously created a very good offense. The 2024 offense in Baltimore was one of the best offenses in history by my numbers. You don't have Lamar Jackson walking through that door, but you do have a guy who could design an offense for whoever is walking through that door, even if the eventual long-term quarterback is not walking through that door until 2027. You do feel like you have a coach that can build an offense around the talents of whoever the quarterback is. So those are, I think, the positives of hiring Todd Monken. I think as long as they made the decision to move on from Stefanski, it's a good hire. I would have kept Stefanski, but of the guys that were out there and available, I have more faith in him than I do in, like, Mike LaFleur, for example.
All righty. Aaron, thank you as always. We appreciate talking. We love your perspective on the game, and love to have you back on sometime soon. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, we will talk to you soon. Aaron Schatz, ESPN FTN Fantasy. He, of course, he was on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline.